There is an invisible line that separates those who are respected from those who are merely tolerated. A line that is not defined by appearance, by resume, by social status, but by a much more subtle and much more brutal factor: your emotional behavior in the small details. You can be intelligent, you can be talented, you can even have good intentions, but if you carry certain emotional vices, certain social reflexes, certain automatic behaviors that reveal you as someone fragile, everything else is lost. Respect is not earned with pretty words, with motivational phrases, or with self-help posts on social media. Respect is built on daily micro-decisions. It is the result of every moment you choose not to explain yourself when no one has asked you to. Every second you refuse to react to a provocation just to prove a point. Every time you choose silence, when everything inside you begs to defend itself. But the problem is that you may be sabotaging all of this every day without realizing it. And the truth, which almost no one will have the courage to tell you, is that there are behaviors that need to die within you. They need to be exterminated, buried, burned as offerings to your own psychological rebirth. And no, I'm not talking about big things. I'm talking about small gestures, small vices, small patterns that you've been repeating forever, thinking they're harmless, but they're sabotaging you with every glance, every word, every silence that you allow the world to interpret in the worst way. Today, you're going to discover the 8 behaviors that need to die inside you if you really want to be respected. And here's a warning you may not want to hear, but you need to. If you don't eliminate these patterns, you can read every psychology book in the world, take every assertiveness course, watch 1,000 videos on leadership, and nothing will work, because respect isn't something you ask for. It's something you demand with the way you choose to behave. So, before I show you the 8 behaviors that need to die, answer me with brutal honesty. How many times just this week did you end a conversation feeling like you explained yourself too much? How many times did you fall for a stupid provocation, only to regret it later? How many times did you smile at people you despise, just to seem polite? How many times have you posted something just to see if someone would pay attention to you? If the answer is more than one, then what you're about to hear isn't just a video. It's a death ritual. The death of your weakest version. The death of your most predictable self. The death of the part of you that begs for respect instead of simply earning it. Now, take a deep breath, because what comes next will touch parts of you that you may not even have known needed to die. 1. Over-explaining your decisions. Have you ever stopped to count how many times a day you feel the need to justify yourself? How many times do you try to convince others that you have a good reason for every choice you make? How many times do you start sentences with, "I just wanted to," or "let me explain why"? The truth is simple and painful. Those who explain themselves too much communicate weakness. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire amid conspiracies, betrayals, and wars. He did not have the luxury of explaining every decision because he knew that the more you justify yourself, the more room you give others to question your authority. Excessive explanation is an open invitation to unnecessary debate. It's you telling the world, "Please understand what I did, accept me, validate me." And you know what the world does to those who beg for acceptance. The world doubts, it questions, it invades. Starting today, your new rule is clear. If the person didn't ask, you don't need to explain. If the person asked, respond objectively, briefly, and without apologizing for your choice. Respect does not come from justifications. Respect comes from decisions communicated clearly and supported calmly. 2. Reacting to provocations. This is the oldest trap in social psychology. Someone pokes you, you react. Someone provokes you, you respond. Someone challenges you, you feel the need to prove a point. And what you don't realize is that every emotional reaction is a public acknowledgement that the other person controls you. When you react, you are handing over control of your emotional state to the person who provoked you. You are saying, without words, "You have power over me." Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you. It's how you respond to what happens." And do you know the best response to provocation? None. The absence of reaction is the most violent blow you can deal to someone who wants to throw you off balance. Silence, calm, a neutral expression, an unperturbed posture are more cutting than any verbal counterattack. The provocateur thrives on an audience. Take that away from them, and the game is over. Starting today, when someone tries to provoke you, breathe, look, and just don't react. The discomfort will be theirs, not yours. 3. Speaking ill of others behind their backs. This is the easiest social poison to consume, and the most lethal to your authority. Speaking ill of others may give you a momentary feeling of superiority, but what you are really communicating is, "I am too emotionally small to deal with what I feel." Every time you spread criticism behind someone's back, you are telling the world that you don't have the courage to speak up. And what does the world understand from that? That you are weak, that you are a gossip, that you are a character incapable of standing up for your opinion in front of those who really need to hear it. Seneca said that a truly strong man is not one who does not feel anger, but one who knows what to do with it. And talking behind someone's back is the most cowardly way to deal with your discomfort. Want to know what others think? Every time they hear you speak ill of someone who is not present, they think, if he talks like that about others, imagine what he says about me when I'm not around. Starting today, eliminate this from your life. If something bothers you about someone, there are two options: speak directly, calmly, and respectfully, or you stay silent and get on with your life. Talking behind people's backs is slow social death. And if you want to be respected, you need to bury that behavior. Now, these are the first 3 behaviors that need to die in you. In the next block, we'll go even deeper into the emotional reactions that are turning you into an easy target without you even realizing it. Now, let's dive even deeper into 2 behaviors that seem small, but are actually corrosive, invisible, self-sabotaging. They slowly dilute your authority, your image, and the respect people have for you. 7. Justifying yourself for not being available. This is an emotional addiction that most people don't even realize they have. You start to feel guilty for not responding to a message right away, for not accepting all invitations, for not answering a call, for not always being emotionally available to those who seek you out. And you know what happens when you do that? You start living as if you were an emotional employee of other people's expectations. Every time you send a long excuse, every time you say, "Wow, sorry, I couldn't respond because I was really busy, but I swear it wasn't on purpose." Every time you write 3 paragraphs trying to justify a simple silence, you are telling the world, "My time is less important than your expectations." And the worst part is that the more you justify yourself, the more people feel entitled to demand things from you. They learn that you will always explain yourself. You will always justify yourself. You will always try to soften the guilt that shouldn't even exist. Epictetus said, "The more you try to please, the further you move away from your own freedom." And that's exactly what's happening to you. You have become a prisoner of the need to appear available at all times. You have turned absence into guilt, silence into debt, personal priorities into something that needs to be justified as if it were a mistake. Starting today, this has to end. You owe no explanations for your emotional agenda. Your absence gun is your right. Your silence is your limit. Your time is sacred territory. If someone finds your lack of response strange, the answer is simple. I was taking care of my priorities. Period. No long excuses, no emotional justifications, no virtually kneeling every time it takes you a few hours or days to respond to someone. Because here's the hardest truth of all. Those who truly respect you understand your silence. Those who don't never deserved your presence. 8. Seeking validation on social media. This is the most modern behavior and at the same time the most pathetic of all. You post a sentence and keep updating it every 5 minutes to see who liked it. You post a photo and spend the night analyzing who viewed it, who commented, who ignored it. You post stories just to test if that specific person will react. You post indirect messages just to see if someone will notice the provocation. And what are you really doing? You're begging for validation. You're screaming to the world, please see me, please notice me, please tell me I matter. And you know what's most humiliating? That people feel it. They feel that every photo you post is emotional bait, that every story is a cry for attention, that every text is a desperate cry for approval. And the result? The opposite of what you wanted. The more you seek validation, the less respect you inspire. The more you post to be seen, the less you are truly seen. Seneca said, "Those who seek public applause have already lost the internal battle." And you are losing that battle. Every time you turn your social media into a stage for emotional begging. Want to change that? Starting today, post only what you want to leave as your legacy, not as provocation, not as a hint, not as an emotional trap, but as an expression of who you are, regardless of others' reactions. And more importantly, after posting, put down your phone. Live real life. Do things that fill your time, without needing anyone else's gaze to validate you. Because the validation that really matters doesn't come from likes. It comes from the peace of mind you feel when you lay your head on your pillow, knowing that you no longer need anyone's approval to feel whole. Now, look at everything we've talked about so far. Explaining too much, reacting to provocations, talking behind people's backs, playing the victim, being emotionally predictable, complaining publicly, justifying yourself for not being available, and begging for validation. 8 behaviors that, if you continue to feed, will keep you exactly where you've always been emotionally. The place of someone who is easily ignored, easily manipulated, easily forgotten. But if you have the courage to kill each one of them, one by one, the transformation will be irreversible. The question now is simple and brutal. Are you willing to do that? Because the world only respects those who first learn to respect themselves. Now, it's time to make the most important conclusion of this conversation. The moment to seal your commitment to a new attitude, a new presence, a new emotional identity. Do you remember how it all started? With you feeding small habits that seemed harmless, but that, day after day, were turning you into someone easy to ignore. You explained too much, as if you were afraid of being misunderstood. You reacted to every provocation, as if your inner peace were negotiable. You spoke ill of people who weren't even present, as if putting others down were a way to feel bigger. You played the victim, as if life owed you something. You were emotionally predictable, like an open book, easy to manipulate. You complained about everything, as if exposing your weaknesses was a sign of authenticity. You justified every absence, as if your availability was a social obligation. You begged for validation on social media, as if your self-esteem depended on numbers and reactions. And the most tragic thing is that you did all this thinking you were just being human, thinking you were just being sincere, spontaneous, accessible. But now, and after looking at each of these behaviors with the harshness they deserve, the truth has become impossible to ignore. These habits weren't making you human. They were making you disposable. They were making you predictable, manipulable, emotionally too accessible, and respected too little. And that's why, now, your decision must be final. Starting today, every time the urge to justify yourself strikes, you will breathe and choose silence. Every time someone tries to provoke you, you will look at them with the calmness of someone who owes no explanations. Every time you feel tempted to speak ill of someone, you will remember that dignity is not built on gossip. Every time the role of victim seems comfortable, you will stand up, like someone who refuses to carry invisible chains. Every time you realize you are reacting on impulse, you will pause and choose the most strategic response, the most sober, the most aligned with who you want to become. Every time the urge to complain publicly arises, you will channel that energy into silent action. Every time someone holds you accountable for not being available, you will hold your ground without remorse. And every time your cell phone seems like a thermometer of your importance, you will put it down and choose to live in the present moment. For real. Because here's what no one has told you. But Marcus Aurelius Seneca and Epictetus have known for centuries. The respect the world has for you is an exact mirror of the respect you show yourself. If you act like someone who doesn't value themselves, the world will believe it. If you act like someone who deserves dignity, the world will obey, and that starts with the small daily choices, in the way you speak, in the way you remain silent, in the way you react, in the way you choose not to react. You can continue living as you always have, collecting emotional crumbs, laughing at unfunny jokes, explaining yourself to those who never listen, justifying yourself to those who will never understand, posting indirect messages, complaining, and being predictable, or else you can do what few people have the courage to do, choose, finally, to become unshakable. Someone who doesn't beg for respect, someone who doesn't negotiate dignity, someone who simply exists with the presence of someone who knows their own worth. Starting today, you are no longer a reflection of other people's expectations. You are the conscious construction of your own emotional authority. Enjoy this video. If you've decided to eliminate these 8 behaviors once and for all, comment which of these habits you most identify with and which one you will start to eliminate first, and share with those you know who are living the same cycle of self-sabotage and need this wake-up call now. Because the most powerful transformation that can happen is when someone finally decides that they will never again be treated as an option. And if you've made it this far, that decision has already been made.